Okay, so the first thing we want to do is go ahead and get that down. Talk about changing percents to fractions, fractions to percents, decimals to percents, percents to decimals, fractions to decimals, etc., etc. All of this is stuff you did in elementary school. You probably don't remember it. I'm sure that was a while ago. But it's all stuff you've done in the past. So when you want to change a percent to a fraction, you know that if it's a percent, then you need to first change it to a decimal. So you do that by moving the decimal place back 2 places. So that's 0.25. And then to change it to a fraction, you divide it by 100. So you can say 25 over 100 and then simplify it, which gives you 1 over 4. If you put 0.25 into your calculator and change it to a fraction that way, you'd get 1 over 4. Now I know you're saying, how do I do it in my calculator? Because everybody wants to know how to do it in their calculator. So I'm going to clear it out, ta-da, in the calculator. You put 0.25. What you don't put in your calculator is anything with a percent sign. No percent signs ever go in your calculator. I don't care if there's a little percent sign anywhere up here. You never press a percent sign on your calculator. Ever, ever, ever. All the stuff I'm teaching you accounts for that percent sign. So never press a percent sign into a calculator. Okay? So you have to put it in as a decimal. So you put in the 0.25, which is what I have, and then I would want to change it to a fraction. If you look at your calculator, you can see there's all this fraction stuff that looks like a fraction over there by the 4, but that's not what we're talking about. You see the N over D up there? That's like third down. That's not what we're talking about either, apparently. You see the green button? That's the one we want. So if you put in the 0.25 and you press the green button, then you press the button that says table. It'll put the F and then the funny arrows and then the D. That says we wanted to go from fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction, either way. And press enter and it'll do the 1 over 4. Puts it right there for you. So it'll say 1 over 4. If you want to take 1 divided by 4 and figure out what it is, excuse me, in a decimal, then you can do the same thing. You press the green. Well, you don't have to press the green, just press enter. And it'll put the 0.25. 1 divided by 4, 0.25. Pops it up for you. So down there at the bottom where it says 1 divided by 5, you put in 1 divided by 5 and it pops it up, 0.2. If you want a decimal to a percent, you have to know that you move it to the right 2 places to get the 43, and then you put the percent sign. If you want to move a percent to a decimal, you have to know that you go 2 places to the left and you get 0.05. You have to know to move to the left or move to the right. Those are the ones that you need to have memorized. Decimal to percent, percent to decimal. But the fractions, I do on the calculator because it's there for you. It does it for you. It doesn't really do the percents for you. You kind of got to be able to do that yourself. But we'll talk about it. It'll be okay. So when I was in high school, I was having trouble with percents. I had a lot of trouble with math in high school, believe it or not. And my mom, who was also a math teacher, didn't have any trouble with math whatsoever. I never went to her for help, but she was astounded by the fact that I had trouble with percents. She said, why don't you just use the formula? She told me this when I was actually teaching. She popped this little information out for me. She said, why don't you teach them using the formula? What formula? The magic percent formula. And I'm like, there's a magic percent formula? What are you talking about, woman? Well, she always used it to teach with, but I never had her in class. How does that help me? Anyway, magic percent formula. Is over of equals percent over 100. Magic percent formula. A lot of you, when you were in high school or in middle school, you learned it as part over whole equals percent over 100. Or you might put the percent over 100 on the left and the part over whole on the right. They here say part is percent of whole. Either way, you get it. You're going to end up with this kind of statement. The 100 is always on the bottom, the percent is always on top, the part is always on top, the whole is always on the bottom, the total always goes on the bottom, the part, the fraction, the whatever, the however is almost used is always what's on top. That's the way it goes. So, for example, number 1, it says express the first number as a percentage of the second number. When we're doing this, the first number is 61. They want it as a percentage of the second number. 61 million as a percentage, so that must be the one on top, of the second number, which is the 328 million. Now I could write these numbers all the way out. You know, the 61, comma, 000, comma, 000. But there's no need because we have millions in both of them. So the O's are just going to cancel out. These units just cancel out. So I can just go ahead and do my little equal sign. And get that 61 divided by 328 is 0.18597561. Is that a percentage? This is a little trick I'm going to show you. Is this a percentage? Is there a percentage anywhere here? They want the first number written as a percentage of the second number. No. If you want it written as a percentage, you're going to have to make it a percentage. You do that by multiplying it by 100%. In other words, you multiply it by 100 and you put the little percent sign behind it. That's what it is. So I'm going to multiply it by 100. And that's going to give me 18.597561%, or about 18.6%. An opinion poll finds that 64% of that many people surveyed said that the president is doing a good job. How many people said the president is doing a good job? They said 64%. So that must be my percent. 100 is always 100. They said of that many people. So 1069 has to go on the bottom, which means we're looking for some number on top. In order to solve this, I have to cross multiply. Which means that I'm going to get 100x is equal to, I don't want to write 64%. I just want to write the 64. Remember, you don't put a percent in your calculator. So 1069 times 64. So that's 100x is equal to 1069 is I didn't do it that way. Six, 8, 4, 1, 6. And you could divide both sides by 100 and get x is equal to 68 . 684.16 or 684 people. Now your question is, well, how did you do it before? I can show you. I did it exactly the way it's written. I said an opinion poll finds that 64% of that many people surveyed said that the president's doing a good job. How many people said the president's doing a good job? 64% is 0.64, because that's what 64% is. Of means to multiply 1069. If you punch that into your calculator, you get 684.16. It's true, you do. I just did it straight across. Didn't have to do all the algebra. But my mom teaches it by the algebra. It was an algebra class. Example 3. 112 freshmen is that of the school's entire student body. How many students attend the school? This one you're going to have to do this way because the of, where you're supposed to multiply, doesn't have something else there. So you have 112 freshmen is, so that's the is part, 26%, so that goes up there. That's the one we're looking for. Cross multiply. You have 112 times 100 equals 26x. So that gives you 11200 equals 26x. If I divide this side by 26, they'll cancel out. So I divide this side by 26. And you get roughly 431 students. Rounding to the nearest whole student, roughly. Okay.